My opponent has claimed that the SATs are not adequate to determine college aptitude, and that they fail to account for socioeconomic backgrounds. I would like to refute that by proving that the statistics regarding income level are not reliable. According to Scott Jaschik, inside Higher Learning Ed, which is a company that researches this stuff, he said that because so many students fill out that question, so many students don't fill out that question or do so and don't really know their parents' income, this piece of demographic data, this is the piece of demographic data that the College Board has the least faith in. So now that I've established that it might be in doubt, especially as to the complete accuracy of it, I'm not willing to say that there is no disparity, but I will say that the SAT itself is not to blame for any disparity between socioeconomic and racial groups. That does exist. John Cloud, the journalist for Time magazine, said that anti-testers often explain the gap by saying that test writers are white and import cultural biases into the SATs. But the College Board says SAT questions are always previewed by a large sample of test takers, and any questions that generate racial disparities are tossed out before they appear on the SAT's account. Booker Peak, professor of African American Studies at Oberlin University, wrote for the Oberlin Review that most blacks perform worse on SATs than do most of their white counterparts, but abolishing the test would not miraculously solve this problem. Blacks do worse on the SATs because during the preceding 17 years they receive a far worse education than whites. The test just confirms what we already know, and it might give us some rough idea of just how huge the gap between the groups is. Second, my opponent tried to say that it was not a good indicator of college aptitude. I intend to prove that the statistics that intend to prove that the SATs are a bad predictor are flawed. For the most part, the most common statistic is that it's only able to predict 40%. According to Poe Bronson of Newsweek, there are two self-selection problems that make the normal set of data really hard to control. First, high schoolers of diverging abilities apply to different schools. The strongest students apply to one tier of colleges, and the average students apply to less ambitious tier, with some overlap. Once students get to college, they enroll in classes that they believe they can do well in. Many of the strongest students try their hand at organic chemistry, while more of the less confident students take marketing 101 or something like that. At each of these colleges and courses, students might average a B grade, but the degree of difficulty in achieving that B is not comparable. I intend to prove that the SATs are in fact not a bad predictor of college aptitude. In the same article, he goes on to say that Christopher Berry of Wayne State University and Paul Sackett of the University of Minnesota pulled 5.1 million grades from 167,000 students spread out over 41 colleges. They also got students' SAT scores from College Board as well as the list of schools each student asked the College Board to send their SATs to, which is a good indicator of what schools they actually applied to. By isolating the overlaps, where students had applied to the same colleges, taken the same courses at the same time, with the same instructor, they have extracted a genuine apples-to-apples subset of data. When properly accounting for the self-selection bias that exists in most other tests, the SAT scores correlate with college GPA around 67% of the time, which in the social sciences is considered a fairly good predictor. Another piece of evidence that proves this is from the Senior Vice President of the College Board, says that recent data compiled by the College Board show that the SAT, which takes 3 hours and 45 minutes to complete, is almost precisely as predictive of college success as our full 4 years of school. My opponent also claims that subject tests are a better gauge of what students have learned in school. But I intend to prove that subject tests may be even more socioeconomically biased than the SATs. According to John Cloud, for time again, the SAT 2s have also spawned prep courses and racial score gaps. SAT 2 prep is actually more expensive than SAT 1 coaching because most students that take 3 separate SAT 2 tests chosen from 22 subject areas. And according to Dean Ted O'Neill of the University of Chicago, the SAT 2 doesn't begin to approach a kind of equity solution. From Fred Schwartz, contributor to the National Review Online, students have to pick the test they will take, and if they strategize poorly in making that choice, it can make them look less intelligent than they are. And so why discard the only universal standard of admissions officers have? I would like to prove out that there is also a fallacy of reasoning in my opponent's argument. If what is being argued is that students from families with lower incomes are underprepared for the SATs, what will make them any more prepared for subject tests?